So this is going to be a kind of documenting video of mine of progress that I'm making on my car, and also it might help some other people who are doing the same thing. Alright, so a little update on the Porsche. These already came from the previous owner. He had a whole bunch of parts. So he had some extra control arms, and I think it's probably in my best interest to replace them while I'm already having a whole bunch of other stuff apart. I'm doing some stuff with the brakes, the brake calipers. They were not in good condition. Like, there was horrible pitting on them and everything. I haven't done the rear, but I have done the front. I did a whole rebuild on them. Those are some new rotors right there, and they go on the like original hubs. They kind of look like spacers, but they're factory, so a little bit interesting. But I was able to fully take them apart, replace the cylinders, hone them out and everything, and got some anti-seize on them too. They look like they're brand new, but that's mainly because I cleaned them and resprayed them. I just resprayed them using a little bit of this. The reason why I went with this is because it's high heat stuff. So in the case of, you know, heavy braking and stuff like that, the high heat's not going to make the paint chip away or anything like that. So this is going to last as long as it can, really. And I just went to Lowe's. I was going to go to like one of those grill stores and hopefully get red, but they didn't have anything. So I mean, silver is the best I could do, but I guess that works fine. It was either that or black, but I kind of wanted them to show. I guess I can make another separate video of me rebuilding the rear brake calipers if anyone wants to see that. It's a pretty simple process, to be honest. All you need is a drill and a hone, and then you can just kind of drill them out. These are the old cylinders. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it was time for them to go. Alright, but back to these. So, why am I replacing these, and why is it important to replace them? The reason why I'm replacing them is that this car is already 40 years old. So, knowing that the bushings and everything are original on this, it's probably time for them to go. And, I mean, if I already had them, I might as well replace them while I'm in here. And another reason is that the original control arms, I don't know if you can see it in there, but they have integrated ball joints. So these points right here are where they mount to, but they're mounted in by rivets. So if you wanted to replace them, you would have to drill them out. Sometimes that doesn't work too great, especially if they're like rusted and stuff. But these are, you know, brand new, and they have holes in them. And the ball joints that are separate come with new hardware, and, you know, they're fully replaceable. So that's kind of ideal for, you know, having some upkeep with this car in the future, because I definitely want to keep it. And it has some other bushings as well. And I think having new control arms, knowing that these are rusted, probably a good choice. So I think ideally I would try and just get these assembled before I take those off and replace them. So one of the main things that you need to do whenever you're building these is you got to push in the bushings, and you also have to pay attention to their orientation. These, the little nubs on them, as you can see right here, there's a little nub on one side, and then on the other there isn't. The nub has to go on the forward facing side, and so the control arm, this is supposed to be the rear part of the control arm, and then this would be the front of the car. So this nub goes facing out this way. And on this rear end right here, this is what this bushing would go to. And now this orientation also matters. There's a flat side on it, so it's not fully circular. There's a flat side. There's a cradle that goes around it, and this flat side is supposed to face upwards like this, so then it matches with the car frame, and so that cradle is going to go around it and then bolt into it. This new ball joint here is going to go in between this. Guess I might as well move this, give you a better view. So this is going to go slide in between. It comes with new hardware. I'm pretty sure all of this was from Pelican Parts. if you want to get this full set. I'm pretty sure they sell it in the whole kit. And so you're gonna bolt in these new things right here, the 3 holes. Ideally, you want to have these bolts facing down and have the nuts come in from the bottom side. So if they do come loose and at like any point, they're not gonna have the ball joint come out, because gravity is still gonna have these bolts facing downwards, then they'll still, you know, stay in place. Alright, and so when assembling these all together, when you push in these bushings, you definitely can't do it by hand. If you could do that, I'd be very impressed. You have 2 options that are gonna make it a lot easier. You can either use soapy water. I just have a mix like 50-50 in here. Ideally you want it to be warm. It's cold. I don't really feel like heating it up. Or you can grab something like this, just an aerosol can. I'm using white lithium, and on here it's ideally used for bushings. So either one of these is going to probably work best for the application of this and help you fit it in smoothly without damaging the bushing. Another part of this is that you ideally want a C-clamp. The C-clamp is going to be able to fit around it and push it in. You can also get like a specialty tool for this at like AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Advanced Auto, something like that, and they'll probably have exactly what you're looking for with spacers that fit completely around it. Me personally, I think in this application right here for this area, I'm just going to use a vise, because I can probably, you know, have that fit on the either side. And then on this end right here, you can really just use a dead blow hammer if you have enough grease. So that's what I'm going to do. And so as just a little quick view of what it looks like, this is the white lithium grease. I sprayed it just literally everywhere, on the inside of it and on the outside of the bushing on the cylinder. I also sprayed it on the back end, so then it would slide in easier. All I have it is set up on a vice grip, and you just turn it over and it goes in no problem. I also did use another thing with it. So what I used is just a old brake cylinder piston. This is what I was showing you earlier. That was, you know, pitted out. So I don't have any use for this, and it's hollow on the inside. So I just put it around here and used the vise, and then just clamped it on. And so this is what it's supposed to look like whenever it's done. It has the lip coming out and over, and then out and over, and then there's little nubs here. And so I have it set up next for putting the new bushing on, and also it's important to have the direction on it. So you ideally want to have that flat side facing up. So just make sure you do that whenever you're putting it on. All right, back again. So I got the control arms put back together with all the bushings in place. These are torqued down to spec. And then this one, I finally got it fully sent in. There was a little bit of a complication with it, because it got stuck like halfway on and halfway off. So it was kind of like right here, and just wasn't budging at all. And so I figured out that what I had to do is grind off all the paint, because the press fit on it is actually super tight of a tolerance. So if you grind the paint off, it makes it easier to slip in. And the bushing is cradled on the rear end here, so it's not that much of an issue if it's a little bit loose. On something like this, if it's like wobbling back and forth, that might be more of an issue, because it does need to contact. But since this is both cradled and it's not moving outwards like this, it doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, I got that sent in all the way. I had to hammer it out, grind it, and then I was able to send it back in. On the other one, on the other side, I already got that put all the way in. This is what it looks like. And this is the old one. It was pretty rusted out. Definitely time for it to go, for sure. In fact, these are so old that they started bubbling. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Yeah. But the other side, on this side, looks pretty rusted as well. I don't think it's as rusted, but I don't think there's any paint on it anymore. So it seems like it's pretty old. So first thing you're gonna do whenever you're taking this apart, there's a hole right here. There's a nut on this side, and then a bolt on the other, right here. And so they're both 17s. So I put a wrench on this side, and then I got a ratchet and put it on this side, and then just broke it loose. It wasn't super hard. If it is giving you trouble, maybe use a blowtorch or a longer bar. Whenever you get that done, you definitely want to use a little pry bar. This is what I use for mine, or else it's going to be super hard to get this out whenever you have both this point right here and this point back here unbolted, because there's no like leverage, because it's just going to keep swinging whenever you're trying to get it out. That's what I did on the other side, because I was kind of just rushing it, and then I had to use a hammer to get it out. If you're doing this on your own car and you're not sure if you want to use the new control arms or if you want to save your old ones, don't use a hammer, just use the pry bar, because you might damage your old ones. The ones that I have, they were rusted out, so I'm not going to be reusing them at all, and the ball joints and all those bushings were totally trashed, so it's pretty much a useless component at this point. I'm going to throw it out. But just keep that in mind, I guess, whenever you're going through this. Alright. And otherwise, once you're done with removing that bolt, you just use a pry bar and pop this out. Really all you need is like a foot long one, is what I used. And then there's two bolts back here. And then there's a nut right here. I don't know if you can see that, it's kind of dark. And then on the other side, there is a bolt. It is super close to the power steering rack. Mine is totally just trashed. I gotta replace that soon before I actually start driving. But yeah, on this side there's a bolt. And so how I've seen other people do this is they will disconnect this part and pull it out. So then they can actually have more room to like move this around and get that bolt out. That's what I did on the other side. Sometimes other people will also have to remove the sway bar so that they can get more room to swing this out as well. And these right here were 17s. There's this little cradle that goes around the bushing at the end here, and it goes like this, and there's two bolts, and they sink right in. I used a box end. It was, I think it was a 19. Yeah, it was a 19. I got it here, and then I set it up like this, so then when you were turning it with the ratchet on this side, this part would push itself against the control arm, and then you wouldn't have to hold this in place, and you could just focus on the ratchet, and it made it really easy. And then whenever you're at the point where you need to pull it out, you can push this to the side, this whole I guess it's the steering knuckle, that's what it's called, and then you can go ahead and pull it out. If it's giving you any trouble, you could use a hammer to send the bolt out, just come from around the end and then smack it out. You could also use a extension if it's like, you know, flush, but you still need to hammer it. I didn't have to on mine because I just grabbed it with a set of small pliers and I just wiggled it out. But also there's something else that I noticed that was kind of weird about this car. The previous owner, or some Porsche tech or something, someone who worked on it at least, these brackets right here are on backwards. So this sway bar doesn't line up with the control arms at all. It needs to be back about like 6 inches. So these need to be flipped around, so then this sway bar is over here. So this isn't an accurate representation of what you're actually going to see on your 944 if you're using this to work on your car, I guess. So yeah, this is going to be over here more so. So that's why you would probably have to take it off to, you know, give yourself some more wiggle room. I didn't have to, but I'm still going to have to take the sway bar off because someone put it on wrong, I guess. And then another thing about your control arms that you just got, and you're gonna replace them with, there's this, and so this is at a 45, and so you're gonna want to have it angled to 45 towards the front of the car. So both should be making an arrow this way towards the front of the car, and they're gonna go upside down like this. There's a bushing that is press fit into the center. The old one's off because it fell out, I guess. It just wasn't there. But it goes around this sway bar like this. And then after you get that on, you can push it towards the control arm, and then you can bolt it on. Alright, so it's a couple days later. I didn't film the rest of the assembly part. I just kind of forgot to film it. But it goes on the same way as taking it off. I will also mention that if you are going to be replacing your control arms, it's important to drop the car first and then torque down the wheels and then torque the bushings and everything there to spec, because if you torque it before you put the car down on the ground, it is preloaded and it can damage the bushings and also mess up your alignment. So you ideally want to put the car down onto the floor, then torque everything, and also align the control arms. If you happen to be curious about where all the stuff that I put onto the car came from, most of that stuff is all on Pelican Parts. You can get it on a couple different websites. Depending on where you get it from, it might be a little bit cheaper, but the control arms that I had over here, they were pretty cheap. They're $50 for the control arm, and then I think the rear bushing, this one right here that has the cradle on it, those are about $50 for the bushings. And then the front one, I think that's $12, and the ball joint is, I think, $24. So altogether, if you buy them individually, it's a little bit more expensive, but I know you can get a kit that has both control arms, both bushings, front and rear for both of them, and then 2 ball joints, and it's about $120, so you can save yourself some money by getting it all together in a kit. And so I think that's what the previous owner did, but I'm not really so sure because, I mean, car just came with the parts. Okay, so I realized that I did not really make a outro for the video or any conclusion for it. I mean, I guess I kind of did, but I didn't like really wrap it up. So all the work on the front of the car, suspension wise, is pretty much done. I got finished with the rotors and the calipers. Those are fully rebuilt and put back on it. So everything in the front other than the power steering rack is good to go. So I went ahead and dropped it, put it on the ground, torqued the wheels, all of that stuff. And now I am currently rebuilding the rear brakes. So I went ahead and took apart the calipers and stuff like that, and I'm trying to put them back together, put some new rotors on the rear as well. But I haven't done the left side, so I'm going to be making a video of that whenever I get to it, and then I'll film the whole process and make a video sort of like this as well, detailing how that goes. But progress on the car has been pretty good. I'm enjoying this project car a lot. It's been really fun. Get to listen to music while I do it. So for anyone who came to the video that was hoping to learn something from it, hopefully I taught you something. I don't know how much I really have to teach. I do have an ASE in steering and suspension, so I'm going to flex that as much as I can. But all I've really done is replace the control arm. It's not that complicated. But yeah, if anyone came to this video and it helped you out, I'm glad that it did. That's kind of why I made it, but also for the documentation purposes. But yeah, I had fun making this video, I guess. If you're interested in seeing where this project goes, definitely leave a comment and tell me what you want to see me do next. I have a couple things lined up for it. The brakes, obviously, I'm already making a video for that. I do have a fuel filter and a fuel pump that I'm going to be replacing, and later on down the road, I'm probably going to be replacing the clutch and throwing a short shifter kit in it, but that's later, not right now.
For anyone else who just stayed to enjoy the Yap Fest that this video actually was, thank you. That's cool. And hopefully other than this, I'll have some more updates on the car posted shortly.